in the meantime. And then the last bit of Justice 2.0 is that we promise to be courageous. And I think that comes with a bit of vulnerability, right? That comes with a little bit of fear that we have to stand up for what we believe. We have to challenge the status quo and almost get to a stage where the Justice 1.0, the last software of justice, is not acceptable and antisocial and not something that we're really going to tolerate anymore. So, you know, how things could just be very last season. Calling people offenders is really last season. We can call people by different names that doesn't give them labels, that doesn't increase that risk of taking on an identity. Our IPP crisis that we've got here, again, it's a very last season. We need to do something about that. We need to work and upgrade a system so that we're able to support people to reintegrate and give them proportional and fair conditions to do that. Yeah. So for me, there's something about providing a solution. You know, in the news last week, we heard that there's been 10% increase in deaths in our prisons last year in 2024, and a 14% in staff assaults. Yeah. So things are not looking great, you know, but I think for me, there's something about, let's talk about the solutions. Let's get together. Let's make an impact together. And if I could tell you anything and advise you in any way, find a tribe, find a group of people that inspire you and refuel you and help you, and have conversations. What does Justice 2.0 look like to you? What does that upgrade look like? What is Justice 1.0 to you? And it's about sharing that, whether that's using the hashtag, whether that's doing videos, whether that's contacting us at Grow, Transform, Belong. And I think, you know, I found my tribe, and a lot of them are on the screen, which is a privilege. But we also have a team of people that are just incredibly passionate. And I think once we found our tribe, I think it's then about saying, right, let's come together, let's transform things, let's do something about it. You know, there's one thing, promising change. Let's be the action, yeah, because sometimes we lose that, and step out of our echo chambers. You know, I'm very used to being in the same room, saying the same thing. And I think this is why we're doing our live events, so that we are exposing people to different conversations and meeting new people. And it's okay if you disagree, you know, let's have a conversation. That's what it's all about. And we have an army of people that are really keen to have that conversation so that we achieve what we want, which essentially is to serve the public. And I mean that kind of globally, to serve our communities and to create a more humane and effective system. Yeah. So before I hand over to our lovely speakers for this launch, I'm just going to end with a quote that I always say, which will probably one day, I was going to say be on my tombstone, but it's not, because I'm going to get cremated. But it would be certainly in my last moments, which is by Margaret Mead. And she says, never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed individuals can change the world, because that is what happens. That's how it works. So I present you my thoughtful, committed group of people